That matters. This is Fox 44 News at 10.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Matt Laufer. Lauren is off tonight. A death investigation in northern Vermont after a man is found dead at a home in Newport Town. Police say it happened on Lawson Road on Christmas night. The person killed is 58 years old. Their name has not yet been released. State police say there was a fight at the home. Another person went to the hospital and was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the two people know each other and that this is an isolated incident. At this point, no one is charged and no one is in custody. A Plattsburgh woman is in the hospital after she was shot by New York State troopers. It happened Monday morning just after 10:30 at the entrance to the Loon Lake Mountain Trailhead. Troopers say they were sent there to perform a welfare check. That's where they found 46-year-old Jessica Chase of Plattsburgh in her vehicle with a gun. According to police, Chase didn't comply with their commands, then drove her vehicle at troopers who then shot Chase. She went to University of Vermont Medical Center in Burlington with non-life-threatening injuries. At last check, she was listed as stable. The weather will inevitably get colder and the city of Burlington is prepared. Its winter warming shelter has been open since the 15th. Fox 44's Lily Sakaniwa shows us why the need for places like this is growing.
In downtown Burlington, the former VFW building on South Winooski Avenue is now the location of the city's winter warming shelter, offering low barrier access to beds for those currently experiencing homelessness.
Estimates from November indicate that there were just over 250 people who were sleeping unsheltered within Chittenden County.
Sarah Russell is the city's special assistant to end homelessness. She says that so far, shelter operations have been running smoothly, but the number of people in need of these services continue to grow.
Since the initial closure of the motel program on June 1st earlier this year, we've seen a pretty significant increase in unsheltered homelessness. All of our homeless shelters across the city have been at full capacity for quite some time now.
Russell explains that the warming shelter houses 30 beds, 10 designated for walk-in guests, and 20 are program or permanent beds for returning guests.
The first night, we opened our doors to the first 30 folks who arrived. On the second night, we provided program beds or permanent beds to the first returning 20 guests.
These guests will continue to have their accommodations given they follow the shelter's guidelines and policies. Since the shelter is low barrier, there are no requirements for personal identification nor relating to sobriety. But Russell stresses the importance of safety for both guests and staff.
Safety is a primary goal of the shelter to ensure that all shelter guests feel safe and that staff are safe in the provision of shelter. So we maintain a zero tolerance policy around safety concerns.
And while it's 30 less people on the streets, Russell echoes the need for more services like these throughout the Green Mountain State.
One of the hardest things to do as a shelter provider is to know that you're meeting the need for a small number of folks, and having to turn people away is a really challenging thing, especially in the winter months.
The winter warming shelter will continue to serve guests until its planned closure this upcoming March 15th. Reporting in Burlington, Lily Sakaniwa, Fox 44 News.
And Tesla's first dealership in Vermont appears to be taking shape. The sign is up at the Hannaford Plaza off Shelburne Road, and the old Hannaford store now sports the Tesla name. Plans for the dealership have been in the works for quite a while. 2 years ago, Tesla requested and received a zoning change that would allow them to sell and service vehicles at the location. The service sign is up on the building as well. At least one published report indicates a January opening. We have reached out to Tesla for more information and we're waiting to hear back. It's lights out for some fluorescent bulbs in Vermont. We're talking specifically about the 4-foot-long tube-style bulbs often found in supermarkets, office buildings, and classrooms. As of January 1st, they will no longer be sold in the state of Vermont. The goal is to reduce mercury hazards and boost energy efficiency. LED versions of the lights are now readily available. They do not contain mercury, they last longer and use far less energy. Vermont is the first state to adopt a law phasing out linear fluorescence, but California and Rhode Island have similar legislation pending. If you lost water last night in South Burlington or surrounding areas, we now know why. The Champlain Water District says a main break on Christmas night knocked out service to a number of locations. Crews worked overnight and restored service early this morning. The Water District says some customers may have cloudy water initially. If that's the case, just run the cold water for 30 seconds to clear things up. When it comes to gas prices, people who traveled for Christmas got a nice break. That's compared to Thanksgiving weekend. In Vermont, the average price is $3.30 a gallon. Last month, it was 16 cents a gallon higher. In New York, the average is $3.37. That's 14 cents cheaper than last month. Gas in Clinton County is actually cheaper than that, but Essex County is roughly $3.60 a gallon. In New Hampshire, the average is $3.10. That's 16 cents cheaper than last month. Prices overall are running about 5 to 10 cents cheaper than this time a year ago. There was no Christmas night winner of a large Powerball jackpot. $638 million was on the line last night. The next drawing is tomorrow. It's worth an estimated $685 million. It's the fourth time this year that the Powerball has been worth more than $500 million. There was one slightly smaller winner in New Hampshire. A $1 million ticket was sold at a convenience store in Nashua. Up next, credit card debt is on the rise. It's not just holiday spending. So just how bad is the problem and what should people be doing? Plus, later in the newscast, a drug that's more powerful than fentanyl has made its way to the U.S. Patrick?
And we have poor visibility across the entire state, 1 mile of visibility up in the Northeast Kingdom. We'll have more on this coming up here on Fox 44.
Local news that matters on Fox 44 News.
In consumer matters, U.S. home affordability this year hit a major downturn, with some minorities among the hardest hit when it comes to buying a home. Just 16% of U.S. homes on the market were within reach to buy for the typical household this year. That's down from 21% last year and its lowest share on record. That's according to data from Redfin. That data also highlights the struggles for minorities to afford housing. showing homes on the market were affordable to just about 10% of typical Hispanic Latino households and to about 7% of Black prospective buyers. Redfin's affordability means mortgage payments were 30% or below a county's median income. It's typical for people to rack up some credit card debt during the holidays, but as we end the year, credit card debt keeps rising and it's not a seasonal issue. News Nation's Xavier Walton explains.
According to financial experts, the cost of living obviously going up, inflation going up, but then also people want to keep up with their current lifestyle as well. And then you mix in the holiday shopping season. I know it's over, but people put a lot of money on their credit cards. Across the country, credit card spending was actually up in the third quarter at major banks. That includes 9% at JP Morgan and Chase, the nation's largest bank, and 15% at Wells Fargo. Consumers also reportedly taking longer to pay their bills and putting everything from food to even college tuition on credit cards. You know, financial experts say right now consumers are even, they're dipping into their savings.
In fact, we're now seeing a lot of people even tapping into their retirement funds. We've seen a lot of data showing that some people are either taking emergency or hardship loans from their 401k or their 403b plans on the job, or that they've just outright taken loans from their retirement funds, which is another indication that they're using up their savings.
Another factor financial experts point to is the rise in post-pandemic pricing, the cost of groceries, rent, everything you're seeing here, electricity and gas, all going up. And then on the contrary, you have banking companies saying that deposits are actually down compared to years past. Deposits reportedly down 3% at JP Morgan, 5% at Citigroup, that's in the personal banking unit. Then you have Wells Fargo, 10% in their consumer banking unit. And listen to this, as much as 31% in the wealth management unit. And one tip from financial experts that I keep hearing over and over is to stop digging when it comes to debt. What does that mean? Essentially stop swiping the credit card and digging yourself deeper and deeper into a hole.
Some rather extraordinary images coming out of northern Indiana, where a driver was rescued after being trapped for several days. Indiana State Police say the man crashed his car and had been trapped for a number of days. It happened just off I-94 in Portage, Indiana. That's about 45 minutes outside of Chicago. A passerby finally noticed the wreckage under the interstate bridge. A medical helicopter was brought in to bring the man out. He is being treated for significant injuries. Coming up in our next half hour, Israel expands the ground offensive in Gaza. This comes as the U.S. launches airstrikes inside Iraq. A look at why the president took this action against militants.
And precipitation is already here in the Champlain Valley. We'll have more on this coming up here on Fox 44.
Local news that matters on Fox 44 News.
Good evening, folks. I'm Sky Tracker meteorologist Patrick Osborne, and taking a look across the region, you can see these showers are underway. Seeing plenty of rain showers over here in Colchester, seeing some dense fog as well along in Rutland. So it's a rainy one out there, and this is a graphic that I just produced showing these temperatures across the region. We've had quite the warm December, 19 days above average out of the 26, so we've only had 7 days with temperatures below average, so it's been quite a warm month, and that's what's going to continue to lead to these rain showers that we are seeing the next couple of days. Starting off tonight, you can see these showers already underway across our region. They dissipate a little bit overnight before again steadily increasing tomorrow morning, seeing these heavier showers going through the region as we go on into tomorrow afternoon. We'll see anywhere up to about 1/2 of an inch of rainfall in Vermont here tomorrow, and you can see we do lighten up a little bit again Thursday as we go on Wednesday night into Thursday, before again seeing this precipitation kind of stall out here over in parts of Vermont and New Hampshire. Now this is helping due to a northerly flow, these winds coming out of the north, making this storm kind of stall out and sit over there, and that's helping these temperatures to stay a little bit cooler as we go on the next couple of days, while also letting the storm drag out a little bit south of us as we go on into Thursday evening. You can see these showers do start to transition over a little bit into snowfall as we go on in toward Friday. So the good news is those temperatures will be dropping a little bit, but for the meantime, those showers are plentiful and across the region throughout tonight. They do dissipate again a little bit in the morning. However, you can see the strong second half starting to make its way into the region for tomorrow. Now, those low temperatures tomorrow morning in the upper 30s and lower 40s, 40 here in Burlington. And as we go on throughout the day, you can see those showers really do make their way into the region again, seeing again about 1/2 of an inch of rainfall across the course of the day, seeing pretty much all of Vermont and northern New York engulfed in these showers. Now, as we go on and look at the high temperature, you can see they are quite warm in the 40s across the board, 45 in Burlington, even 49 down in Bennington. And as we go on throughout Thursday, again, they rotate around a little bit, seeing showers heavier in southern Vermont for the start of Thursday before making their way up into northern Vermont as we go on about noontime Thursday. Now, we do start to see them settling down a little bit, but overall, we'll still have that precipitation in the area. And again, we'll start to see these temperatures cooling and the chance for some mixed precipitation or snow showers in those higher elevation areas. Now, low temperatures for Thursday morning will be in the upper 30s and lower 40s across the board, 38 here in Burlington, and only increase up a couple of degrees into the mid 40s for most places, 43 in Burlington, again, quite warm, 49 down in Bennington. Now, those rain totals will accumulate up a little bit, seeing about 1/2 of an inch to an inch in the Champlain Valley, as well as the central part of Vermont and New Hampshire and Orange County and Grafton County. And then seeing again some more increasing in those rain totals as we go on throughout Thursday. So by the time we get to the end of Thursday evening, you can see about 1/2 of an inch to an inch across all of Vermont as well as northern New York. So we do have quite the rainy couple of days here, but you can see those temperatures do drop down quite significantly as we get on into the weekend. So finally, some more nice weather that we'll be seeing, hopefully some good skiing conditions as we go on later into the week. Anyway, if you missed any details or want a full recap on the forecast, go to mychamplainvalley.com.
I stuck my head out the door, and it was bizarre because it's this weird mist, just not typical for December.
Yeah, a weird mist. This is something that we might see in March or April or again like November, but seeing this after Christmas in December is a little bit out of the normal, and I'm hoping that we get on toward the weekend, it'll finally go away and we'll just have nice, cooler, snow showery type days.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. When we come back, a look at some of our favorite stories of 2023. I'll take you back to my underwater adventure on Lake Champlain and how you can enjoy it as well, at least when the weather gets warmer. And a little later in sports, Ken Drake brings us the nominees for the Plays of the Year and how you can vote for your favorites. With just a handful of days left until 2024, all this week we are revisiting our favorite stories of 2023. And this past summer, I had the chance to explore part of the area that very few people get to see. That's because you have to dive to get there. In a story I filed for Destination New York, I take us to the depths of Lake Champlain. Summertime in the Adirondacks would not be complete without a visit to some of the region's amazing lakes. Specifically, the crown jewel, Lake Champlain, spanning roughly 120 miles with nearly 600 miles of shoreline. Hot summer days on one of the nearly 60 public beaches, breezy afternoons sailing the 485 square miles of lake. It's what lies beneath that you may find so interesting.
There's tons of stuff at the bottom of Lake Champlain. There's shipwrecks, there's treasures, there's all kinds of stuff. You never know what you're going to find.
This lake is rich in history. Part of the War of 1812 was fought on the shores and on the lake, leaving behind a treasure trove of artifacts hidden at depths up to 400 feet. There are dozens of shipwrecks to see in Lake Champlain, but you need gear and certification to get there.
I guess the coolest thing is it's like going back in time. You know, you come up on them and, you know, I don't know, you get shocked. You know, there they are, and it's just like going back in time. It's like diving's like getting in a time machine.
Think scuba diving in perhaps Florida or a tropical island comes to mind. But there's a lifetime of stuff to see right here in the Adirondacks.
I'm told there's over 300 shipwrecks in the bottom of Lake Champlain.
There's even an old Model A Ford just a mere 20 feet below the water off the coast of Alcor Island. Not to mention the nearly 100 species of fish that live in the lake, most of which are very curious when they happen upon a human in their home. Close to Lake George? No problem. Lake George's crystal clear water is home to some amazing cliffs and bluffs, not to mention this awesome dive park.
It's a lot of fun. You can go there, you can practice your skills. The water's clear, it's warm. There's a really cool airplane to go and check out.
Perfect for a shore dive at Hearthstone State Park Beach. You walk right in and check out the obstacle course and all the cool things around it, such as this airplane or an old station wagon. There's even an old boat. For many, being on the water is a great time, but for those who'd rather check out what's under the water, Lake Champlain and Lake George are the perfect scuba diving destinations in New York. We'll be bringing back more of our favorite stories all week, and be sure to tune in this coming Sunday for a 2023 Year in Review. We'll take a look back at the stories that made news in our area in the past year, from the flooding to the issues at the State House, plus some of the stories that made us smile. And we'll look ahead to 2024. That's this Sunday night, New Year's Eve at 10 p.m. on ABC 22 and Fox 44. When we come back, the story behind the Christmas Day airstrikes by the U.S. and Iraq. And swift action may have saved a young life, a newborn that's alive thanks to a good Samaritan.
Fox 44 News starts now with your forecast first.
Welcome back, folks. I'm SkyTracker meteorologist Patrick Osborne, and taking a look outside, we have quite the wet evening underway. Seeing that current temperature 44 with really high humidity, so it's wet and foggy out there, which makes for not so great driving conditions. If you're out on the roads, make sure you are driving nice and slow and safe. Now, current temperatures across the region anywhere from 38 in Montpelier up to 50 in Burlington. Those highs, or excuse me, that was the high temperature. The current temperatures are in the 30s and 40s, 44 here in Burlington. And again, plenty of rainfall is on the way. We'll have more on that coming up here on Fox 44.
You're watching local news that matters. This is Fox 44 News at 10:30.
First at 10:30 on the day after Christmas, tensions are increasing between the U.S. and Iran after U.S.-led airstrikes targeted Iranian-backed militants. Basil John reports from Washington.
President Joe Biden is back at the White House this evening after he spent part of his Christmas at Camp David acting as commander-in-chief. The president ordered the United States military to strike back against Iranian-supported militants in Iraq. The airstrikes were retaliation for a Christmas Day drone attack on a U.S. airbase in northern Iraq. 3 U.S. service members were hurt, 1 critically. National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson said in a statement, the president directed strikes against 3 locations, focused specifically on unmanned aerial drone activities. And U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said the U.S. will not hesitate to take necessary action to defend the United States, our troops, and our interests. Iraqi officials say the U.S. attacks killed 1 militant and injured 18 others. This comes at a time when the U.S. is trying to prevent the Israel-Hamas war from spreading beyond Gaza. On Tuesday in Iraq, anti-U.S. protesters took to the streets in Baghdad. They carried what they said was the body of the militant who was killed by the U.S. jets. Protesters called the airstrike a crime committed by America. The Pentagon reports that the U.S. has shot down a dozen drones fired at them by Iranian-backed Houthis early Tuesday, but no one was injured. Reporting in Washington, I'm Basil John.
Also tonight, there's word that Israel is expanding its campaign in Gaza. Israel says the ground campaign is moving into urban refugee camps in central Gaza. It follows Israeli airstrikes on the communities and orders for people there to evacuate. Police say a Hawaii man's swift action may have saved a newborn's life. Jen Boneza has the story.
Felt like a dream almost, like a scary dream, like a nightmare.
The witness, who asked not to be identified, says he's still processing having to pull a baby out of the garbage.
It was very sad moment. Definitely scary to think about what would have happened if I wasn't here.
He says it happened around 11:30 Saturday night. He was home alone when he heard a woman screaming outside.
Then got up and looked out the window, and I was shocked to see what I was seeing at first. Right over here across the street, I witnessed a homeless lady giving birth to a child, and so I immediately picked up my phone, called 911.
But he wasn't prepared for what he says he saw her do next.
I'm told after the mother gave birth to the child on the sidewalk there, she walked across the street with the baby, and she lifted this garbage can, put the baby inside, and then walked off.
Disbelief, really just, I think in the moment I was in shock a little bit, like really no words.
But he immediately ran outside to help the infant.
Grab it out of the top of the trash. It didn't look like it was severely injured or anything. It was crying when I took it out of the dumpster, which is a good sign.
He says he was overcome with emotion as he stood there alone waiting for the ambulance, holding the baby girl in his arms.
I broke down a little bit and started crying because I didn't know how someone could just leave their kid.
As horrible as the situation was, there is a silver lining.
The last thing I heard, the baby was in stable condition, and grateful to God that I was here home when this all happened so that I was able to the kid in time to save its life, because it could have turned out completely different if I didn't hear the screams and I wasn't home.
When we come back, the rise in respiratory illnesses, the concern about flu, RSV, and a new variant of COVID, and a drug considered more dangerous than fentanyl has made its way to the U.S.
Local news that matters on Fox 44 News.
Turning to health news, a lot of people in this country may have a respiratory illness during the holidays. The CDC is monitoring very high levels of respiratory illnesses in at least 9 states, mostly in the South. Another dozen states are facing high levels of the illness. There's been a 200% increase in the flu, 60% increase in RSV cases, and more than a 50% increase rate of COVID-19 spreading. The spread of COVID could be due to a new subvariant of Omicron. COVID cases are up for the 6th straight week, according to the CDC, while vaccination rates are lagging. Nationwide, only 18.5% of people have gotten an update in their COVID vaccine.
You want to make sure that you have that protection, that high quality mask, washing your hands, making sure you're updated on your vaccines, and always preparing for the highest risk person in the room.
Doctors also recommended RSV vaccines for babies under 8 months, pregnant women, and adults who are 60 years or older. Some encouraging news: while the CDC is tracking growing flu hospitalizations, data shows the number of new admissions still remains low. Tonight, concern about a drug recently discovered in Colorado. It's considered 10 times more potent than fentanyl. It's a novel synthetic opioid called indethacyletaniazine, and a man in Boulder, Colorado is confirmed to have died from an overdose. It's the first time law enforcement has found proof of the drug's presence in the United States. The drug, a type of opioid called nitazene, originally developed 60 years ago as a morphine alternative. The man who died in the middle of this year is believed to have ordered Quaaludes without knowing they were tainted. A look at top sports stories of 2023, and we catch up with Lake Monsters manager Pete Wilk. Even amid his battle with cancer, he is looking at a return to the dugout in Burlington in 2024.
And poor visibility is across the whole state with 1 mile of visibility up in Newport. We'll have more on that coming up here on Fox 44. Welcome back, folks. I'm Sky Tracker meteorologist Patrick Osborne. Taking a look outside, you can see some rain is collecting on both the Rutland and Colchester camera, which shows that rain is well under the way with this newest system, and it helps that it's so warm outside. That high temperature reached 50 degrees today, and as you can see with the month of December, out of the 26 days we've had this far, 19 have been above average. Only 7 days have been below average. We've been seeing plenty of temperatures in the 40s and 50s for the month, which is quite a bit unusual for what we would usually like to see for the month of December. So that's something a little bit concerning, and that's the result in leading to this newest system, which is all rainfall across the northeast. You can see plenty of rainfall in as we go on into tomorrow morning, seeing some heavier showers developing as we go on later into the afternoon. A little bit of a chance for some mixed precipitation in higher elevation areas. But as we go on throughout, you can see the storm dies down a little bit going into Thursday morning. However, it progresses back up a little bit, seeing southern Vermont seeing mostly rain showers as we go on into Thursday morning. Northern Vermont seeing a little bit of some cloudier and drier skies. But as we go on throughout the day, you can see they develop all the way across the state. So again, have another rainy afternoon as we go on into Thursday. And then overnight into Friday, we might finally see that temperature dip down enough to see that mixed precipitation and even some snow showers going on in towards Saturday. But taking a look back at tonight, you can see all of Vermont's covered in those showers, as well as parts of northern New York. You can see they continue to make their way across the state as we go on overnight, dying down a little bit and seeing a couple areas with only a a couple traces of rain showers in northern Vermont. But overall, seeing rainy skies as we got on into tomorrow morning with those low temperatures across the board in the upper 30s and lower 40s, 40 here in Burlington. Now, as we go on throughout Wednesday, you can see they're lighter throughout the morning, but as we go on into the afternoon, those showers do develop up quite a bit, intensifying. We'll be seeing up to about 1/2 of an inch in rainfall across the state as we go on tomorrow into Wednesday. Now, those high temperatures top off in the mid-40s for most, 45 in Burlington, even 49 down in Bennington. And as we go on into Thursday, again, starting off relatively light, but again, developing quite a bit as we go on into the afternoon, seeing rain showers across pretty much all of Vermont as we go on throughout Thursday morning, again, dying down a little bit as we go on into Thursday night, potentially seeing that chance of mixed precipitation and snowfall. Now those low temperatures will be in the 30s and 40s for most, 38 in Burlington, and then increasing up a little bit into those 40s, 43 for that high in Burlington on Thursday. And those rain totals, as you can see, are increasing quite a bit over Wednesday, anywhere about 1/2 an inch, even some areas seeing up to an inch of rainfall. And as we go on later into Thursday, you can see those showers definitely do intensify. Looking at the 7-day forecast, you can see a couple more days of these heavier showers and increased temperatures before decreasing back down into more seasonable temperatures and sunnier skies as we go on into the end of the week. Anyway, if you missed any details or want a full recap of the forecast, go to mychamplainvalley.com.
I can't even believe that we're complaining about rain right now in December.
I'm a snow person. I don't judge people that enjoy the rain showers in December, but I want to get out on the slopes, and this weather is preventing me from doing that right now, so I'm really looking forward to these cooler temperatures and hopefully some more snowfall as we go on later into the weekend.
Sports coming up, the top plays of the year. Ken Drake next has the nomination or the nominees. Find out how you can pick the winner.
Now, Fox 44 Sports with Taylor Viles.
Hey everyone. Well, back in February of this year, we learned that Vermont Lake Monsters manager Pete Wilk was diagnosed with glioblastoma, an aggressive form of brain cancer. Despite this, Wilk persevered to get back to Centennial Field at the end of June to lead his team for as much time as the cancer would allow him to. He was in the dugout for the rest of the summer, which ended with his team's third straight Futures League championship berth. Shortly after he arrived in Burlington, I had the chance to sit down with Wilk to talk about everything from his family to the support his Lake Monsters family has provided during his battle. Between Pete Wilk Night in July and a GoFundMe, well over $100,000 in support has been raised. Here's a bit of our conversation.
I don't think about cancer. And that might sound like, I don't know what that sounds like because I'm not running away from reality.
Your doctor said that you would beat cancer. What do you think makes him so confident on your case?
When you have a doctor saying you can beat this, people like you beat this. I'll never forget that sentence. This thing is a roller coaster without question. So you ride it out when you can, you try to win days. If I can win a day, I win the day and I'm happy with it. And I've been winning a lot more days than I've been losing.
Pete Wilk got through this summer on optimism and incredible willpower. Now back home in Virginia, he's here to share with us how he's doing. Pete, I appreciate the time. How are you feeling today?
This thing's beating me up a little bit. It's got me pretty fatigued. Again, it's day by day.
So the word is you're coming back to Burlington in a few months to sign a new Lake Monsters contract?
Yeah, they want to bring me up in February at some point to sign a new contract. I think both sides want to get something on paper.
Do you feel like returning to Burlington to manage the Lake Monsters this summer is still in the cards for you?
Yeah, I do. It's a driving force, no question. It's something that keeps me going every day. I'm feeling better than I did last year up there, so I'm encouraged by that.
It's been about 12 months since you were first diagnosed, but you're still here fighting every day. How can you reflect on that?
It's interesting going into the holiday period. I didn't know I was going to have the holidays, and that makes this one pretty special. And the doctors are talking to me about being a candidate to be a long-term client. There's people in the program for 32 years, 21 years, and now they're talking about me in the same vein. That's obviously pretty wonderful.
Here at ABC 22 and Fox 44, we are praying for you, Pete, and are always thrilled to hear every positive update. Pete Wilk's return to Burlington was definitely one of the best moments of the year, but there are others that also stood out. Let's take a look at those now. The year started with a bang. Lake Placid swarmed with college winter athletes for the FISU World University Games. All sorts of events were held across the 11-day event, and it started in the famous Herb Brooks Arena with the opening ceremony. In high school sports, U32 completed an unbelievable comeback in the final seconds of the D2 Boys Hockey Championship game and defeated Mount Mansfield in double overtime for their first title since 2016. A couple weeks later, both Catamounts Hoops teams made it to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2010. Although neither made it past the first round, we were able to cover the women's team playing against the Yukon Huskies in the storied Gampel Pavilion. At the end of May, Megan Christian set the Vermont City Marathon record for the fastest time by a woman by well over a minute.
First time in Vermont, and here I am making history, so it's cool.
To end the fall high school season, Colchester girls soccer claimed its first title in 30 years on the heels of the loss of two of the team's biggest supporters.
We'd remind our team who we're playing for. We played for Rick, we played for Butch, we played for just the Colchester community in general.
A week later, after a spirited high school football season, the D1 championship game ended in remarkable fashion with Burr & Burton holding off Hartford's 22-point comeback. QB Jack McCoy orchestrated a game-winning drive with time expiring to hand the Hurricanes their first loss of the season. Catamount men's soccer channeled last year's Cinderella team in the NCAA tournament to make another deep run this year. They hosted another awesome tournament game at Virtue Field and made it to the third round. At the end of November, at the Stiefel Killington Cup, Michaela Schifrin showed us she's not slowing down. Despite some hesitancy going into the weekend, she claimed her 90th career World Cup win to extend her all-time record.
A lot of things had to come together today for me to end up getting on the top step, and I'm so thankful that it happened here, of all places, with this crowd and this energy.
And then just a few weeks ago, Vermont men's basketball pulled off one of the craziest comebacks you'll ever see in college basketball. The Cats scored 6 points in the final 3 seconds to beat Yale by just 1 point. The 4-point play by TJ Long will go down in UVM lore.
And they called a foul.
Wow, what a year it has been between college and high school sports. We expect to see many more great moments to grace our eyes and ears soon. That's all for me right now, but we're not done yet. Let's go to Ken Drake now for the final Plays of the Year nominees.
And this is what we are down to, the final Plays of the Year for 2023. These nominees have been voted by you, the viewer, in our semi-final rounds, and are now down to the final week of voting to see who the best of 2023 was. Here are the nominees. Our semi-final round 1 winner was not a surprise, as Mariah's Evan Fleury makes the ground game look like a bowling alley, knocking down defender after defender, rolling over the final one, putting him in for the 6 and the touchdown. Next up is Willsboro goalie Peyton Lurkus, making the initial tip save, but would have to put full concentration down as she gets back to just barely keep the ball from going over the goal line on the great second effort. Our other round 1 semifinalist moving on was all the way back from one of the first games of the calendar year, and CVU not only doing a good job on defense with the steal on one end, but bringing it back the other way for the comeback with authority as Logan Vaughn finishes the play in a very big way. Coming in out of round 2 of the semis is Saranac's Bryce D'Angelo, making 2 points with just one hand stand up in the Spartans' playoff win. Not only does he call in the big-time catch, but also does a great job tippy-toeing back along the end zone in the back to stay in bounds for the score. The final play was a big one for Catamount Country and TJ Long, double pumping in the final tenths of a second to not only bank in his shot, but does it while being contested and thus fouled on the play, turning an almost Vermont loss into a 1-point victory in the final moments. Now it is up to you, the viewers, to make the final call. You can go to mychamplainvalley.com, go to the local sports section, and tap on the Plays of the Year Final Nominees tab. There you can vote early and often. I will have results coming up for you on Saturday's show. For sports, I'm Ken Drake.
Thank you for watching. We will be back tomorrow night.